just full disclosure, and so you know you're being recorded and shared. But I will tell you, I continue to get great feedback from people about the availability of the videos, and that people are watching them, and if they have to leave early or something like that, they have really appreciated them. So if there's any kind of queasiness about being on, you know, certainly feel free to mute your video or whatever. But that's why we're doing the recording. So, wow, look at this, and the and the people just keep on coming. This is great. We've got 24 of us so far.
Can I clarify something real quick too that came up in our last one?
Please do, Melissa.
I went back and looked at my numbers. We were saying that when I said that I had reached 1,500 people, that is how many it reached, not how many people actually viewed the video. Oh. My video views were still around 400. 350 to 400. So it's still a huge number, but not that 1,500 was just how many it reached. So those are different numbers. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that. I had somebody say, you had 1,500 people watch your video. So that wasn't the case. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. In full disclosure, yes, but still 400 and some is not a small number. Right. The power of mass media. So, well, welcome everyone. Today's our focus is going to be on planning, and I want to get into that, but let's do a quick icebreaker. And you know how to use, hi everyone, for any of you new, I'm Susan Walker, and a lot of you are very familiar faces, and you've come back over our perfect connections. And for those of you wondering what perfect stands for, it's parenting educators, are really fabulous electronic communicators and teachers, which you all are. So, so welcome back for our perfect connections. And our focus today is going to be on planning for the fall. And my hope for you is to, we're going to work in groups, and I'll get to that in a minute, and just sort of pose some questions and suggestions for all of that. Let me do a quick check-in though. Where's my poll? Okay, here's my poll for today. How's your experience with online delivery been going so far? I feel, remember, 1 through 7, crappy to happy. So 7 is crappy, 1 is happy. Let's see how you're doing. Oh, you're so close. We're at 92%. Okay, I'm gonna call it. That was 30 seconds. Oh, 25. Oh, great. All right, I'm gonna give you 1 more second if anybody hasn't voted yet. All right, oh, you are 100%. Woo! I want like balloons and everything to fall down from the sky. Okay, so here's the results. There you go. So you can kind of see you're at that nice bell curve again. The person who is crappy, we're sorry for you, and I hope that our session today, or you can reach out to one of us individually if there's anything that we can do to help you not feel so crappy about your online work so far. And again, in the chat area, if you would like to share who you are and what school district or what program you're working with, and an email address. That way, if I don't have you so far, you know, I'll have that information. And then let's just do a quick check-in. So as you think about the summer coming up, what are you most looking forward to planting or getting from your CSA? Or in my case, a volunteer plant that I didn't have to do anything. It just keeps coming back every year. So what are you looking forward to? Let's think a little bit about nature. What are you looking forward to this summer?
Tending my flowers. I've got most of them planted, but I like to tend them. Yesterday I was at the nursery and my husband went with me and he said, "Why do you pet the flowers?" I said, I guess I'm just thinking about what I want to put with what in a flower pot, and I guess by touching them it helps me visualize. So
Yeah, but there you go.
that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they are living things, and back in the 70s, we were all like talking to our plants and playing classical music for them and helping them grow. So we can do that through touch too. Oh, thank you. Oh, walking through Gertens. I know. Sunny flowers. Oh, that's so, and it's especially, I don't know where you all are coming in from, but it's quite cloudy right now in the Twin Cities area. So reading your thoughts of nature are very bright. So let's get right to it. We are going to talk about, I'm going to share my screen because I have my first question to you, and I want to pull up my little Word doc so I can remind myself here. My main question, and you can share this either verbally or over in chat. Let's see. Oh, admit. Come on, Word. Why aren't you? There you go. Is open. I have this really nicely worded, and here we are. Nope. Desktop. There it is. Perfect connections. Yep. So my question to you is for today. How can this group help you most with your questions about planning for the fall? How can this group help you most with your questions about planning for the fall? Okay, marketing hybrid classes. Okay, getting ideas, that's great. Inspiration, man, this is what this is all about, right? Social distancing, is it even possible? Creative ideas, new families, how the new model might look different, new babies, families, all of the above. Well, aren't you in the right place then?
I'm having a hard time typing right now. For me, it's really about expectations.
Okay.
Like, what as a district are you expected to do? What are we really looking like? What are our expectations for it, I guess?
Okay. And Melissa, is that a question that is district specific for you, that you're waiting to hear those expectations? Okay.
No, I think I just kind of want to feel like what are we thinking would be our expectations from those of us in the field, so I can present my own expectations.
Okay.
Because I think in my district, we're more of an afterthought. And so it's generally more of what I bring forth. So to be able to say, this is kind of the consensus and the feeling that I'm getting overall the state. And so being able to bring back everybody's thoughts on what you're presenting will just help me in being able to present what should be expected from us as well.
Right. Okay. So, so now my questions for the remainder of our time is about format. And so we can, would you like to break into small groups by theme areas so that And so few options. We do this with our different classes is, so let's say we have an hour, because if we meet together through say 2:30, maybe if we have an hour, that will still give us 15 minutes towards the end to come back together, you know, as a full group. So by meeting in small groups, you could meet in one, we could identify what those groups would be, and you could choose the group that you would want to, and then it will take me a moment to kind of organize the groups. And then so you could choose a theme area, and an option could be that you stay with that group for like a full hour and just have at it and talk and do your thing. We could have say 2 groups. So you could meet with one group for 30 minutes, and then we could reconfigure groups. You could meet with another group for another 30 minutes. You could do it by 20 minutes. You could work 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. It's completely up to you guys. I am just going to handle the mechanics. And I know after last Friday, you're going, oh no. So, but this is your group, and I want you all to use this time most meaningful for you. So, so if you'd like, you can go into groups, and you can decide if you want to do theme areas. And I have, based on our notes from the last few weeks, I have some suggested, or some ideas. You don't have to use them, of some possible theme areas to break into. There are enough of them that we may not want to choose all of those. Anyway, so how are you feeling at this point? We have with us today, we've got 20, we've got almost, we have 35, 40 people, something like that, 35. So what would you like to do?
Susan, it's Ellen Hafner here. My question is more about the mechanics of, will we be able to view, because when I watched Friday's video, when you guys all went into breakout groups,
Yeah,
I couldn't see anything. Right. So as much as, I mean, I'm just curious if there's any way to record what we talk about in small groups so that those are available for people to access later. It just totally, I mean, kind of not really on topic, but
no, it is on topic.
No, it is
I was
totally
thinking about that too. And I think the way that we would work it is somebody in the group. So this is the other part of the mechanics is, whatever groups you're in, you know, I would recommend that you have a bit of a group leader or somebody who's going to take notes. And then I would recommend that in that group, you record. You individually can record your session, and it might mean that I have to give you permission, which of course I would, but then we'll have multiple copies of the video for those sessions. And then you can send them to me. I mean, theoretically, this will all work, right? But then you send them to me, and then I'll upload them into YouTube. So we would be able to see the conversations from the different groups. Okay?
thank you. Yes, awesome.
Yeah, that's my plan, my thought, anyway. Okay, so let's see. So one group, if a group is small enough, could be just one group. I like an hour, really can't get into good discussion without. So do you want one group for a full hour? Or do you want to look at topics first? So give me thumbs, like give me your reaction daily, right? Oh, we have 30 people. Okay, yeah. So remember you've got your little thumbs up thing. Okay, all right. So I'm going to share my screen just so that you can see some topic ideas, and then you can decide if any of them appeal to you. And okay, so possible themes. There they are. Okay. All righty. Share screen right there. Share. Okay. So let's see, Ellen, I'm looking at you, and Melissa, shake your head if you can see my Word doc. Yeah, okay. So here's some possible theme areas, right? Those of you who are coordinators meet together, age group, birth to 2, talking about how do you hybridize if you're back in the classroom, do online and face-to-face. by specific ECFE component, by parent education, by early childhood education, by parent-child interaction, or through integrated planning, early childhood and parent ed, maybe identifying policy recommendations that as a field you would recommend. Somebody had recommended not to engage with children through screens, only parents. So, but the idea would be to talk about what policies might we all want to share, reaching new families, forming and maintaining relationships, and then, you know, thinking about changing formats to meet new needs. So if the traditional thing has been an hour of parent ed, maybe it means having drop-in sessions, maybe a shorter, not 15 weeks, maybe, you know, 6 weeks or something.
Can I ask, we're thinking about doing where we would just really be in one of these breakout groups, or are you thinking that we would be able to be like have one of these conversations and then choose like another one?
Well, that's up to you all, right? It kind of depends on what we could do is once the groups are formed, you know, you can always get out of a group and ask me to put you in another group. The only thing there is you're coming into the conversation, right? So we could set up, say, between the 30 people, we could set up, say, 6 groups. And Melissa, you're in the coordinator group, and then after 20 minutes, you ask to go to the integrated planning group.
Right.
You know, like you would just come back to the full thing, and then you would see me and you would say, could you put me in this group? And then I can reassign you.
Okay.
Okay. So right now, I would just say, are there, as you look at these topics, first let me ask, is there a groundswell of interest in a topic that, or a theme you don't see represented here?
The only thing I'm just a little bit interested in is how people are marketing whatever they're going to do in the fall. I would love to get some ideas from other people on, you know, just like what system. We have all of our classes online, but because we're going to be doing things differently, does that need to look differently? Or so I'd be interested in.
Your approach to marketing would look different? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it might.
Okay.
If we have different kinds of classes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think it's hard as we're talking about some of this stuff too. I think our conversations might naturally end up going into some of these other topics.
Okay.
So if we find that starting to happen, should we pop out of that group and head into that other group? Does that make sense?
Sure. I mean, this is you. You know, I mean, the other thing is, as you look at this list, are there, is there any way to collapse these so that there are, so what do I have here? I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, you know, is there a natural way that you all see that as you look at like what you would like to talk about as represented in these themes, is there a way that we can somehow condense these into 6, or some way that you would feel, I'm going to copy and paste this and put this into chat, and then, okay, don't get upset. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I'm going to put over here, whoop, why can't I get into chat now? There we go. All right. Oh, there we go. All right. So there we go. All right. So there are the theme areas over there in the chat.
Jenny had a really good point. She said large districts versus small districts. I do think that is a pretty significant consideration for these discussions.
Okay.
I am one and only in my district. What we do is going to be very different than a district that has 3 or 4 parent educators.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm wondering if we shouldn't maybe even divide up by size.
Do you want to just do that and then talk about whatever topics? So that's good. So are you guys good with that? Let me see. So rather than having these specific topic themes that sort of have risen to the top, what is more practical is that you talk by the size of your programs or the size of your districts. Yeah? Show me, I saw a bunch of thumbs up. Anybody absolutely hate that idea? You can stay and talk to me. I'm kidding. Okay, all right. So then what would be the natural division? Is it small, large, or what's the division?
Are there even 3 different sizes? Is it super big versus a medium sized one versus one and onlys?
Can we take a poll?
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
How
Good
about
idea.
how many parent educators you have? Like maybe 1 to 2 parent educators versus like 3 to 6 or something like that, or something along that line. That would maybe kind of define program size. I don't know.
We could also hold up the number of fingers of how many we have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1, 2, Sarah 1, Jenny 1, Carly 7. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, 4, Trina, Shelley 2, Cinnamon 1, Shelley 7. Are you in the same district as
And
Carly?
may I suggest that maybe we go one, who has 1 and 2 first, then
Yeah,
I
well,
can
right
do the
now,
count.
Anjali, I'm getting a sense of what the actual range
Okay,
is. So
sure.
Carly, Sarah is on the phone. She's got 5. 7, 7, 3, 3, 5, 7. Who do I have left? Michelle? Oh, you're there. Okay, you're part of the 7. Diana? You're 3. Julia? 2, 3. Okay, this is the second group. Laura? Laura 7. Nikki 1. Kim 1. 1.
Okay.
Okay, and then the folks around the bottom, your screen is covered, but that's perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm seeing a range of 1 to 7. So if we had 2 groups of 1 to 3 and 4 to 7, would that be a logical break?
Susan, could I just mention that there's lots of us from District 196 here,
Yeah.
and so we don't all want to just talk to each other. So, you know, we have 7 plus me, which is 8. So we'd like to talk with other people, even though we're a large district.
Okay. So you'll be with, so do some of you want to go with the districts that would have a smaller number, or do you want to be part of the group that would have like other larger districts and you'll have those larger district conversations?
Yeah, that'd be fine. So I'm on my phone outside, so I can't really see everyone, but several people answered for us that we're all in the same district. And so if there are other larger districts here, we would love to have that conversation with them.
Great.
So I'm in Bloomington and we have 3. So I think I would rather be in that larger group conversation.
Okay.
So could we maybe do 1 and 2 together?
Okay.
And maybe 2 of the larger groups if we've got a lot of people.
Okay. Does that work for you? So have 3 groups, and then have 1 group with 1 or 2 parent educators, right? And then have
All along the river too.
2 groups in that would be larger with 4 to 7 parent educators. Does that work? Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I need is one more step, because then that will make it easier for me to put you into groups. If in the chat you would just put your name and then just write small or large, and small again is 1 to 2, large is 4 to 7 or 3 to 7. Okay. So small, all I need is your name and small or large. Okay, let me do this here. All right, can I pop this out? Yes, I can. No, that's people. I want chat. There we are. Oh, okay, there we go. Now I can, now it's big. Now it's big. Okay, so give me a moment here. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see. Ellen, Melissa, come up with a good general topic question, or provide Nikki with support. She's got a big Zoom session on Monday, don't you? Yeah. So talks amongst yourselves. This is going to take me about 1 minute to coordinate your names here.
We've made some progress on this Zoom session. Michelle Berscheid is co-hosting it now. And we have had some practices, so this is exciting because we were able to successfully put everybody in breakout rooms. We have the answer that if it's randomly assigned, they do go back into the same breakout rooms, so that was good. We figured out that actually anyone who's a co-host can travel and join any group. So for example, like if all of us were named as a co-host in this meeting right now, we'd all be able to travel to any room that we wanted. So we figured that out by trial and error because Michelle, we hosted a small meeting and made her a co-host and she could travel to the groups. And in coming back, she exited the meeting and came back in and then wasn't able to travel anymore. And we're like, wait a minute, what happened? What was the difference? And we figured out that it was because I needed to rename her as a co-host. So we're getting there. I think we're okay. And
Good. Good. See, that's what it takes, right? Okay, so I think I can do this now. I am going to manually put you into 3 groups. All it took, the nice thing with this is, there we go. So you'll be in 3 groups. Each group will have about 9 or 10 people. And then if you want to get out of one group and visit another group, just let me know. So here's my recommendation. Again, you're all professionals. You guys can figure this out. But I would recommend that somebody tape or hit the record button for your Zoom session. And hopefully your Zoom session will be just fine. You'll get an MP4 file and you can send that to me afterward. Also, somebody please take notes because I would like us to come back together and, you know, have a share back, big discoveries, how you're feeling, additional questions, things like that. Okay, so notes, because again, in a sort of a facilitating role, as people outside of the group who can make it on Friday are finding value, I'd like to be able to share back. Okay, so any questions? And whatever you talk about, this is on you, right? So make your time as meaningful as you can, and above all, have fun. So any questions before I divide you? All right, I'm going to do it.
Quick question: How long do we want this session to be? For the next hour or shorter?
Let's try 45 minutes, and I'll check in with you to see if how you're doing. Okay? Does that work for you, Nikki, Melissa? Let's see, Shelly, Cinnamon. Shelly, Sarah H, Melissa, did I leave anybody out? Jenny. Okay, so that's how many? 8. I think I have a couple more. Ellen.
Just while we're waiting, I'll tell everybody yesterday was our last day of classes.
Woohoo!
Summer is upon us here in Albert Lee.
There we go. And I think that might be, seems like I had another person, but
Kim, for you.
There we go.
While we're waiting, is the group function for the Premier Zoom? Because I thought I went and looked for some of those special features we've been talking about on Zoom. Do you know for sure?
I had an issue and I had to go through my district technology. If you Google the words Zoom for Education, it was like that's the plan that the district has, and I had to get the district administrator of that account to add me to that account. So it is a little bit different, and actually that was the issue that I was having earlier when I said that I did not have polling. I had to get that person to go in and give polling, and once that was enabled, then I had polling in mine.
Our school doesn't support Zoom right now, so I don't know that they're going to. So I'm just trying to see if there's workarounds. So good information. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Larger, yes, okay. All right, I'm opening all rooms. Oh,
Susan, can
Well, I can't.
Oh, she's
okay,
right here.
there's it.
Starting.
hi.
I can see it. It's up there.
Okay,
It says recording. Yeah.
we can't record until you
It
give us
says it's
permission.
recording.
Oh,
It's because
Somebody
Susan
said
came in
Maybe
here.
because I'm on it.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Otherwise, we weren't able.
So you
When
have
we
to give someone permission.
Ah! No, 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 no.
Oh, we can still see.
It's interesting because, yeah.
I pulled up the chat again too, so we can kind of see what some of those suggested topics were
oh, yeah, good.
as well. Mhm.
I don't know. Okay.
I was traveling and en route when they were discussed when it was presented what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to definitely step back and listen while you guys go.
Okay. I don't know if you saw it. I just added the Word doc that has the topics too, if that's at all useful to you.
Perfect. Oh, where do you find the Word doc at?
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat.
Oh,
Do you see it? Can you find it?
if I go down to the bottom. Yes, there it is.
Okay.
You'll have to minimize your screen and then share, so you can see it side by side.
Yeah. All right, and then, but you all are able to record, you think?
It still says that I can't. It says please request record permission from the meeting host.
And I am not more. Oh, allow record. Who wants to record? I can do this. I have power. Okay. Who wants to record? Shelley?
Sure.
Okay. I can. There. You can do it now. You should be able to do it now.
Yep, I'm doing it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to jump to the other two rooms and let them know what I just discovered. Okay.
Okie dokie.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Hey guys, if I disappear, it's because the color I have a water problem and I have.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm going to jump over to, that was small. Okay. I'm going to join. Okay.
And I'm Carrie Fisher, and I work with Lorraine in Wilmer.
Hi, everybody. Can I just jump in really, really quick? We just discovered something in the other group about recording. So I have to give whoever is going to record permission, but I just figured out how to do that. So who would like to record the session, and then I will make that happen for you.
So Susan, I was a volunteer, so you could go ahead and give it to me.
Okay. All right. Are you staying in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, unless you need me for anything else.
What?
Unless you need me to do something else.
No. Oh, no, you're good. Okay, I'm allowing you to record. All right. Bye, everybody. I'm going to jump into the third room.
Thank you.
It's still going on as a grievance for us current for certified staff, because we were kind of lumped into the hourly pay pool. We are under teacher contract, so it's been an interesting road, and it's still going on.
So at that point, they stopped paying you?
We were scheduled for 0 hours work. However, because we get paid on a year-round pay, we are receiving a small portion of our pay, and our benefits are continuing through August. So it's kind of an odd HR decision.
It sounds like it's a union issue.
It is, and it's going on.
Okay.
You all, I'm just going to jump in real quick. I just discovered something with the other group about recording. And so it just takes me giving whoever's going to record permission to record. So, and Nikki and Sarah, I've just given the two of you, but I'm not going to assign you. So who would like to record your group session?
I'm going to have Nikki do it because I'm going to have to leave at 2.
Okay. So Nikki.
If that's okay, Nikki, or somebody
is there anybody else who can record?
It looks like you're already recording.
That's because I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because I was going to say I didn't record.
Yeah, it's like it'll record whatever I'm doing, but once I leave,
superstar.
Yeah. So who would like to record?
I can do it.
Okay, great. Laura, let me give you control. All right, good. So now you should be able to just hit the record button.
Yep. Okay.
Good. Okay, I won't interrupt you again. I'm going to pop out. So you're doing okay? It sounds like you're having a good conversation. Okay, bye.
Popular. It may even be a garage sale group. Literally, like just an announcement page. That's free advertising. And then if you make the wording really, I'm considering doing a parent drop-in kind of thing. Not really a Facebook Live, but a Zoom, just kind of a drop-in for the community. Yeah. And I would word it something like, you don't even have to show your screen. Like, I think there might be some parents who don't want to show themselves for whatever reason. Maybe they're anxious. Maybe they don't want people to know that they're struggling or whatever. And I'd say something like, you can just show up with just your name, So anyway, so Facebook community groups.
And just watch with the Facebook community groups too. They have a lot of rules about them. So for ours, like we couldn't advertise anything that was like a class thing. But when we did our whole advertisement for this whole session, they took that. So we said, hey, go to Facebook. We're going to be offering all these different classes and things, and this is how you can connect to it. So you can do like generic advertisement, but not like, and this class, and that class, and that class. That's when they cut you off.
Yeah.
Ellen, do you post on that community group, or do you have, so I don't live in the community, but I'm part of the community group, but I'm wondering if it would be better to have parents post who live in the community. Any thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I do live in the community. I haven't posted yet. I didn't, I'm trying to figure out how to best do that and not be overwhelmed, and I have to clear it with my coordinator and et cetera. But I do live in the community and I would post. But that's not a bad idea, having a parent post or a parent advisory council member.
Yeah, that's what I was
or
thinking.
a past parent, I'm sure you can find somebody who would be like, rah, yeah. Or, then they can say something like, I love ECFE and this is a great way to get connected to families. If you get some parent rah-rah in there,
We call them parent ambassadors.
Oh, I love that.
Parent ed ambassadors.
Love it.
I do post. I do post, and I'm not a part of all the communities that I work in, but I think that some coordinator or teacher posts are really important, actually, for us to be connected with the groups. So.
I was going to go back to the postcards too that we had talked about. So our district, we also don't have a hospital. We're in Grove Heights, so there's a variety of hospitals that people deliver at, and so it's a little bit challenging because we can't just go to the hospital and meet the new babies, so we have done postcards that we've given to the ECFE teams that go into the hospitals that we know our parents deliver at. But then we also have made postcards that we send out with the census. And we just revamped one to say, in this kind of chaotic time, we know you still need connection. And so we're doing virtual home visits. We're doing phone calls. So we're doing home visits through Zoom. And actually, we've done more home visits through Zoom than we've done in 3 years face-to-face, which is a really interesting thing. And it's something that I feel like probably could continue and should continue. We're going to do Zoom baby massage because I have my baby massage certification. And so we're going to do Zoom baby massage too. And we haven't tried that yet because we're trying it out on people that we know that will give us the really good feedback. Like, yep, this really worked, or no, this doesn't feel good at all. So we're trying it on those parent ambassadors. But we really revamped the postcard to just say, this is crazy. We know you need help. We're here to help you. We know you need support. We want to connect you.
So my kids are 12 and 7, and I remember getting the information in my welcome baby whatever, but it felt like it got pushed to the side, right? Now, like, I know even my doctors are talking about the ECFE classes, which is awesome. But are you guys saying that you send out your postcards more, or you just, like, whenever you see somebody with a baby, like, are you actually physically sending them in the mail, or yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we use the census list. And so we get the census list, and then we pay for there's a deaths list too. So we pay for both so we can make sure that we don't send something to someone who something has happened to. So we're a little bit behind because that list comes later, and we want to. But I also feel like for new moms, it might be okay to be a little bit behind because you're not
right.
You're really overwhelmed as a new mom, and so you might not even see it. Right. So yeah,
Cinnamon,
so
I totally
fill them out.
I identify with you, Cinnamon. I'm just putting it in this bag that Head Start or WIC or our public health sends out. It's so much information.
Right.
So Shelley, that's a really good point. If you're sending it out alone, it might get the attention a little bit more, at least in these days. I think.
And you said you pay for it, so you pay for it at the county? Is that?
Yeah, so I'm not the coordinator, so I don't know where she pays
Oh,
for it, but
that's
I
no,
think
that's
it's
okay.
the state, or well, maybe it's the county. We don't pay for the census list. I think that's free,
That's free.
right?
Okay.
But it's the deaths in the county. And we yeah, and we just had a mom that, I mean, I felt strongly about it before, but we've also just in the last month had a mom who was 39 weeks pregnant and lost the baby. And I thought, man, if we were not, I mean, we know her, so we would figure that out, but it just really emphasized how strong we have to be at making sure. Yeah.
So I know you guys are talking a little bit about census and getting babies in, but how are you getting in? I mean, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that we kept up our
in my own distance learning Zoom class, it's taken with new people so much time to develop that relationship and to really offer those educational pieces that parents can grab onto, that, you know, the one and dones, I'm just not sure, for me as a practitioner, are something that would be a match for me. Because it just takes that extra time now. Not in person, it takes time, but over a screen, it even takes more time to develop those relationships with people that, like, I have people I've never met and we have a strong relationship, but it took 9 weeks, right? Like, so those are just my thoughts.
Yeah. It feels like it's going to be hard to reach new families with the distance piece in place, just because I feel like people that already have that relationship with us are going to be the ones that want to sign up.
And we've even found that those people who we had a relationship with, kind of when push comes to shove and they have other stuff going on, ECFE is what drops off. Some of them might not come to our group, but we've offered one-on-one sessions with families, and we alternate between myself and our early childhood person. Sometimes the people will take advantage of that one-on-one time and not the group.
Okay.
But what's been interesting is that just, you know, the people that you thought were super connected and were going to be there forever, when this came, they're like, we're done. And there are other people where we've had declining interest in our Zoom classes or the one-on-one sessions. But we have a family literacy program, and this week, 2 new families who have not done one thing since this whole thing started tried to get on Zoom. And we don't know, like, I wish I knew what we did different. They decided they wanted to try it. But they're, of course, family literacy families, they're challenged, and they couldn't get on Zoom with the audio. They kept clicking, what we finally realized, they clicked cancel instead of join with internet audio. So, you know, they were almost there after 8 weeks, and then they weren't. So we got to wave at them. But I have found that so interesting, is like the things that worked before, you know, your diehard veterans that were always there, like that's not a guarantee anymore. So I feel like I have no idea who will do anything in the fall.
I'm gonna jump in just because I only have about 10 more minutes before I have to leave, and I just want to say thank you for sharing, because it really is getting me thinking. And we're having our planning meetings start next week in our district, early childhood. And much like the rest of you, we're looking at having plan A, B, and C, and how do we succeed with each of those plans and have them mapped out and ready. I personally think we are struggling somewhat with how to market. I don't have a lot of good ideas on how to successfully do anything face-to-face or have families on site. But the things that we've been starting to talk about reflect some of the things you've already shared. What I do want to say about the whole concern we all have for building relationships, my experience in the last 2 months that was successful, surprisingly, we do shorter sessions for parents with birth to 5-month-olds in Robbinsdale, and those are the classes I teach in the spring, and they're short sessions. So the new baby classes were scheduled to start the week we went to distance learning. So many of us have reported that those classes that we had been meeting with and they had been seeing each other face to face since fall, those carried on quite successfully. Of course, give or take the technological challenges that families can have, even if things are working well one week, the next week there's Wi-Fi challenges, so there's those sort of things. And so most of what I did in the last 2 months was working with parents of infants who I had never met. And of course, because it was infants, I elected to not do circle time and some of those things. But what worked well initially was because I had no relationship with these families. They're new to ECFE, many of them first-time parents. I think what helped is that I reached out personally and called each of those families that first week and just said, this is the situation we're dealing with. We're trying to find the best way to, and really set them up to invite participation, invite the connection and relationship building, and then, hey, are you willing to give this a try with me? And it was all of my parents with infants classes combined to meet once a week via Google Meet is how I set it up. And then what worked well, and again, this may not work well for every kind of class. This was a non-separating, obviously, parents with small infants. So I think, it was easier for them to participate and be on a screen. Some had older children. So of course they would come and go in the session as they were able. But I would send ahead of time an email with some what would be circle time songs and kind of the brain science behind that, or why it's important to have those serve and return interactions with your baby. I would offer some parent-child developmental activities, and then some content and reflection questions. And it actually worked surprisingly well then to gather them as a group, knowing this was our focus. And through the course of the 9 weeks, that group actually bonded. And it was a beautiful thing to hear them say, even though they had never met each other, they successfully made these connections and felt part of a community. So I think it is possible. But again, I realize that that's parents with infants, so it's a little bit different than our, separating classes or parents with toddlers. So I personally can't imagine doing face-to-face on-site classes with parents with infants. And I also want to just echo what somebody else had shared, that I don't think a good first impression would be, especially for a toddler, to come into a building and have everybody with masks. So if we can successfully offer something on site, I think some of the relationship building and connecting needs to happen first, and have those toddlers see our faces without masks, establish some, which would maybe help ease them into some kind of face-to-face on-site experience. So I too think in our district, we're looking at those 3 plans and like, what can we be offering, ongoingly each week for parents to jump in and out of, like topic-based drop-in sessions, or
AM.
Yeah.
And I did parenting with Google Meet, and then I did Schoology for asynchronous learning for parents, which they hardly touched. I think some of them have been looking at it, but very little like actual online discussion back and forth, asynchronous discussion. And then more recently, the early childhood teacher has been popping into my classes on the front end just to give the kids a little social interaction, because it's a big concern of parents that their children are not having synchronous interactions with other kids. So we've been trying to meet that need. So it's kind of evolved over time. So if I were to design it from scratch today, I'd have to think about all of that and everything we've learned, and I don't know what I would decide. Because it is so nice. It has been really nice to add the kids back into the front end of that parenting time for a little song and a hello, and they get better at it too. They chit chat.
Sarah, what do you think? Shelley, I think you do it at the beginning, but I'm wondering, we've played in my classes, we've played around with it by just parents at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And then we call, and because I feel like they can get them kind of settled with another caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then we call them in at the very end. It's kind of like this treat that they get to come in at the end. That our early childhood teachers are actually sitting through the entire discussion with us. And then they lead just a very, very short circle time at the end. It's maybe 2 to 3, maybe a lap ride, maybe a hello song, a lap ride, and a goodbye song. It's very short, but the children seem to really enjoy it and look forward to it. But I was just wondering, what do you think about at the end?
I have 2 questions about that. So the early childhood teacher then is in like the circle of trust with all the parents all of a sudden?
Yes.
And how does that go?
That for me personally, I've loved it. And I think like a couple of topics I've done, I've asked the early childhood teacher to share, like on literacy, and like this week we did open-ended play. And so, you know, they shared some perspective from an early childhood teachers. And I think the parents have really liked that.
Yeah.
And I think Susan, you know, having it at the end might be a good idea, because I have parents or kids in my meetings the whole time, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to like, without using a screen for the kids, quite frankly, it's hard to separate and get them busy with something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever had, I mean, I have like 9 classes. I have never had one that doesn't have kids in it, you know? So, you know, that would be something to talk about for next year as well, kind of structuring that. I think at the beginning of this, we're surviving, and now we're learning more, you know, about what might be a better perspective to use. Or
I think it depends on the time of the class, though, because ours was a night class. So we started with the kids, and the children's teacher did a very nice parent-child interaction time. And then, you know, we kind of sang a little song, and then the children knew, okay, you know, and of course this was at night, and
I have 2 night classes too, but
and so for that, I can see maybe during the day, I hear what you're saying, but I suppose it depends on the time of the class.
I think that just thinking about it, just structuring it from the beginning, you know, like this is how it's going to look. And I think at the beginning, I didn't necessarily do that because I didn't know how it was going to look. And the kids have really enjoyed doing circle time. I mean, it took 2 or 3 weeks before they really got it, but now they love it. So I think structuring it into what fits for the parents in the fall, if that's what we're looking at, is a really good idea right from the beginning.
We also kind of started with 30 minutes of parent education. Like that's all we thought that we should keep parents from their children, because children need to be supervised and that kind of thing. It would be hard to keep them much longer than that. But what I've found is that our parents aren't ready to get off at 30 minutes. Like our conversation pretty much goes 45 minutes for sure. I'm wondering how long everybody else does the parent ed piece comfortably.
I wrestled with that too, duration. My own personal stamina ends at about an hour. So, and I don't have little kids I'm trying to keep alive. So, but just facilitating, it's different, right? Reading the room, like some of the things we've all done. I do the book study that I mentioned that convened after spring break. I was like, for sure, we're just going to go an hour every time and the rest is going to be asynchronous on Schoology. And those women went 90 minutes every single week. And by the end, I about ready to fall over. But they were like, we had the chat going. We had some people speak. It was just really, really rich. And so I decided to, have a cup of coffee and do it.
My class went the regular class time, sometimes a little bit longer. So ours was from 6:15 to 7:45. But again, they set it up. So, and sometimes we go a little later and I tend to be like, I want to be respectful of their time, but yet they were so eager to talk with one another. But again, this was an evening class. They pretty much set it up the way they normally did if they were coming to the school. Was it the most ideal way to do that? No. I mean, for what we had, I think it worked out really, really well. For a long-term thing, I think parents did it because they knew it was to the end of this year. They had those close relationships. They were looking forward to that and so on. So.
I'm thinking about the importance of relationship and how much it helped us keep the families engaged this spring. And Susan we've talked about this in others of these groups. And it's got me wondering if I shouldn't offer like a drop-in, like independent, not affiliated with the school, but just to preserve my relationship with parents, a drop-in summer coffee hour kind of thing, sliding scale, like send me what you want to, I will convene this group at this time and anyone from the group is welcome. Just for those, there are a couple parents that I'm more concerned about than others in terms of having a lifeline and just someone else to talk to for a whole week. So I'm noodling that a little bit. Again, we don't do summer programming, so they don't have an option.
So when you say drop in, you would still have to know that you would send them a link.
Yeah, I would. And I would have them RSVP to let me know they were coming. I mean, I've seen this done now a couple different ways. And this year I've been doing like coffee house office hours where I just publish the link. It's to a Google Meet. And then I just have my Meet open and I'm at my desk putzing with other stuff if nobody shows up. And it's been pretty quiet. I've had like 3 or 4 or 5 people catch me during those times. But I also don't mind the structure of having to like be at my desk doing something constructive during that time. So for the summer, I think I would ask for people to let me know if they're planning to come. And then I would give them the link.
Okay.
So that maybe I knew whether or not I had to be at my desk during that time. I don't know. I'm just noodling it.
And again, how would you market that, Sarah?
Well, that's the tricky part, isn't it? Because I'm not allowed to use my school lists to market something like that. However, I would probably ask my coordinator if she minded if I did that, because the ECFB, like Edina, is not offering anything in the summer, so it's not competitive. I don't know. Or I could just word of mouth Facebook. I mean, I have a personal Facebook account that I post a lot of my classes on.
Okay.
Well,
One thing that I have found interesting is, I don't know if other districts use this, but there's, for lack of a better word, an organization or peach jar is what Robbinsdale area schools is using to deliver flyers. So it used to be that like elementary kids would come home with a Thursday packet every, or Thursday or whatever day they were doing it. And you'd open it up and there's 8 flyers in there. So a lot of paper that's getting recycled. And the district has migrated to what's called peach jar. And it's not constant contact, but it's like the district puts their flyers to the peach jar. And then the school itself, every school and every location has its individual peach jar. So that gets pushed out. And I guess I would just use the word like constant contact. I mean, it's enough, like each one is an individual flyer. So you could click on it and you could get all the links. But one of the things that has occurred in Robbinsdale area schools are actually it's they created something new with just during the pandemic called Parents and Community, and they have been offering these sessions with various people who will facilitate them. So the parent family educators have been asked to facilitate a number of these, and I have been asked for one specific one for K through 5 and a different one for 6 through 8, or grades 6 through 8. And those flyers got then put into the peach jar. So like the middle schoolers got the 6 to 8, and within that, it gives a registration link like Google Docs, go ahead and fill this out, and then they will send the link. But I also want to say, so this is a little bit of a tangent to that. So one, I'm just thinking about marketing early childhood. Our program is also using Peach Jar. So that is a way that we can get information out, but it's only to the families that are already part of our program, right? And I think we're all thinking about how do we reach these families that are new. This other thing that I want to share also does not reach necessarily new families, but it is reaching the elementary school families. We do one-on-one visits, and right at the beginning of the pandemic, our director put out a Google form to all of the elementary school principals, who then circulated it within all of the elementary schools, that if they wanted a one-on-one visit with a parent family educator, they could just go ahead and click on the Google Doc or click on, a Google form. And that would then indicate to us, we get it in the responses, that somebody has requested a visit. And so that went out to all of the elementary schools, and that exploded for a short bit. So it says to me, like, if they continue to market that or put that up, parents just, they hang on to that and they go ahead and they click on that on their own or when they want to. And then when we got that information, we just set up individual one-on-one visits with them. And for us, it was Google Meet. But somebody else said this earlier. I think Shelly, it was you that commented, like, different districts have used different things, or different districts have said no to this or that. And I was one of those districts who the district said no to Zoom because of the security issues, and we were Google Meet. But I think going through this, now that we've had some experience, we might have more opinions about what we want to advocate for. And going into fall, I don't feel anymore that I'm necessarily okay being told this is what the district is going to support. I will be advocating for, this is what I need you to support, and this is why, and this is the experience. And across the state, I think as we've had this collective experience, we have more understanding. So I don't know, do people hear things in that perhaps that you could build on this and help us within the early childhood realm? Because I keep using that thought too, Sarah. I'm noodling with all of these things, and how can we expand that?
I don't know if you saw my broadcast. You did see it? Okay, so 2:15?
2:15.
Yeah, 2:15, and we'll come back together as a full group, okay? Sorry.
One thing we haven't touched on at all, well, yeah, I guess we did a little bit, was
on how they're doing it, that you're going to have a spectrum for everybody at every grade level.
And that's something I think we need to keep in mind with our parents as well. Our parents are the same way. Like, a lot of us are feeling bad because we lost some of our parents, but we've gained other parents because those are the parents who learn that way. So, and the ones that we lost are probably ones that don't learn that way. So it's, the balance in that is from 0 to oldhood.
One of the things, Melissa, to kind of go off of that is, I think right now it's one thing to try to do the parent ed, but what about the other two components? And that's what I think is going to be that. I think the one component with children is what sells us. That's our special sauce. But what keeps us and satisfies is the parent ed. And so I think it's going to be thinking of those three components as we look at hybrids and as we look at programming in the fall. That will be interesting. And then I just have a question really quick, show of hands, if you wouldn't mind. Do you have screening coordinators that would like to get together and talk about some of this, like with me on a Zoom?
I'm sure.
and what you're
we do.
thinking. Okay, did you hear that, Susan? Please.
I did.
I can do it. I can do it off on the side like I did that other thing, but or this. That would be awesome. Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say early childhood screening?
Yes. Early childhood screening coordinating.
Yep, my coordinator does that. It's just her and me. Just her
Yeah,
and me.
I would just love to think what that hybrid might have to look like.
Yeah.
If we don't get to do in person. Yeah.
So you brought up, Greta, the early childhood though, and we haven't really talked about that portion of it. So one thing that I was thinking about, and I was talking with my coordinator about the other day, we noticed across our preschool the different levels of success in engagement with the different things. And definitely the more animated and, fun, sassy, those, they're a little bit more engaging. But also my lovely puppet Juliana coming out really helped, and we had another classroom where she was using puppets, and being able to add those puppets in there definitely added another level. It's almost like, even though I'm sitting here doing a circle time and I don't have any kids here, I have
I am. Oh, wait a minute.
Packets. You know, we did that for twos and threes, but the early childhood teacher didn't do that so much for the toddlers, and that was a request.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thinking for the fall, it's like we want to make sure that families are served in an equitable way, so that if we talk about ideas and activities, that every family has those materials. So we're talking about that very thing. Like, we may just need to invest in, if you need some of these materials, we can do a drive-by and you can pick up scissors and paper and, whatever those basic glue, picking up those basic things, and just trying to make it open and ready for all families. So
we did about 300 activity bags that parents were told, you can come Monday through Thursday, noon to 1. And that was also interesting that my family literacy families who, kind of ghosted me, they texted me on that day because they wanted to know exactly like what time can I go. And but it was a way to make sure every family's got a pair of scissors, some crayons for the emailed activities that we were sending every week. And it went to preschool families who are enrolled in our the Wilmer Public School preschool programs, but also all our ECFE families.
So how many packets did they get during
that one? But I sent out, so what we did in Wilmer was we did our Zoom classes with our regular Monday, Wednesday groups, and then a few other groups. I sent home twice a week through email. I would send home activities, so activity links, things like that they could either print off or easily do at home. And I also sent home a lesson plan that went along with it and had activities they could do at home. The activity bag was just a one-time thing, just because it was so difficult. I don't know about your school districts, but we really couldn't go back into our building. And if we did, it was a rigmarole. And I live about 25 miles away from the school district, so I just haven't bothered with that whole piece. That's why I say if we do a hybrid next year, we can at least be in the classrooms to be doing some prepping and stuff. I think it'd be much easier, because then I did initially the first, when we had those planning days before we were not allowed back in the building, I did do a couple mail packets that went home with families. But otherwise, a lot of it was just online and stuff. But And I know, like I said before, that was one of the things our families on the advisory committee talked about, was that, you know, if that's the case for next fall, if things could be sent home more so. So something to think about.
Well, welcome back, everyone. It was just so wonderful to pop into your groups and just spend some time listening to the different conversations that you're having, and you clearly covered the waterfront. So hopefully, those of you who are recording, you can probably stop your recording, and then when you close out of Zoom, you should get like an MP4 file. And you can just send that to me by email, and my address is Skywalker, drop the N, or drop the Y, Susan, skwalker@umn.edu. So, how was it? Thumbs up? Did you enjoy your conversations? Were they meaningful to you? Were they helpful? Yes, good. Leading question. So I had asked you, as we're coming back and you were in your groups, was that useful? Was that the structure of talking within sort of by size of your programs? You found that valuable to you? Good. That was all you. So thank you. So what were your key, so from each group, if you would just take a minute, because I've got another question for everybody, but if each group would just do a reporting back out of what were some key insights that, you don't have to tell me the whole text of what you talked about, that'll hopefully be on the Zoom stuff, but what were 2 or 3 really key insights that you picked up in your group, or key questions that you will grapple with as you go forward this summer for the fall?
Before we get into any of the rest of it, we want to continue these for forever. But,
well, that was actually going to be my last.
Okay, we can go back to that. Sorry.
We also talked
sure,
about
let's
that.
just go to the end and then we'll work our way back. So, do you want to meet? I mean, do you want to keep these going? Okay. So I'm perfectly, like, you know, I have like no social life. No, I'm kidding. So I'm happy to host these, you know, like facilitate these on Wednesdays and Fridays, and Greta, we can add Tuesdays and Mondays and see what, whatever sub-themes come up. And I'm almost wondering, rather than, I mean, if you all come up with themes you would like to talk about, but my sense of it from listening to each one of the conversations is we could just call it fall planning, and it will generate the kinds of things that you all want to talk about across the board. So we'll just say that from here on out, however you want to meet, you know, you talk about that. Excellent. So thank you, Melissa. Thank you. So plan for, and 1 o'clock continues to work for most of you. And you want to meet, do you want to just start? I can structure it for, I mean, Zoom doesn't cut us off. So anyway, so we'll just plan on 1 to 2. And if you want more time, we'll have more time. But so group to group, what were just some key themes or insights that you picked up from, let's start with this, with the small group, the small district groups. What were some of your key insights and takeaways from your conversation?
I was encouraged to hear that small group, or that virtual home visits was working really well for another district. So I think I'm going to work on looking at that. That was encouraging.
Good.
I appreciated hearing some options for, like, maybe people pay by the class, like $5 a class, or maybe they pay like a membership to a fall series of classes. Also, there was some discussion about how to reach out to different age parents of kids in elementary school or teenagers as parent educators.
Thanks.
And Sarah, something that was said about reaching out to other age groups to do it through community ed, maybe not under the umbrella if our hours are cut, as far as another way to, for hours.
Good, thanks. Anything else from the small group? The small group? Okay, let's move on to the large group, which the large group was Christy and Julia and Lorraine and Carly and Carrie and Deborah and Diana and Lori and Laura. What were any of your key insights or big questions that you grappled with that you have going forward?
Well, one of the things that for me that stood out was somebody was sharing, she had a new infant class that she started for this semester, and it ended up being, you know, online. And she said that she contacted each family, each parent before the class started and talked about what they were going to talk about and just encouraged them to participate and just really set up the whole class. And she said that people really did pretty well at developing relationships with each other. And I think, and I agree with her, because she did that work ahead of time, that the class actually went really well. So that was a great tip for me to hear.
Ditto to that. That's what I was going to say too, Deb. And just for those of you who weren't in that group, it was for new parents with infants birth to 5 months. So it was really encouraging that you can build relationships with a participant and between participants in a virtual setting.
Our group also talked quite a bit about outdoor classes and nature education, and that was of great interest to me. So I appreciate those of you who shared that.
Great. And thank you. Anything else from the large group? All right, so then let's go to the smaller large group, which was Nikki and Sarah and Michelle and Shelley and Laura and Susan and Trina. Key insights, questions you have going forward from your group?
One thing we talked about was when we're looking forward to fall, the need to break it out into 3 different scenarios. Going back full time, a hybrid model and how difficult that might look, or all again virtually. And so how difficult it was for us to really come up with some ideas. Although we started thinking about the hybrid model, came up with just started getting that brainstorming going with a couple of different ideas with that. Maybe somebody else in the group can explain those too. And then we just also talked about kind of the timing of a class, of a virtual class. And another point we talked about was the importance of remembering there are 3 component areas in early childhood family ed: parenting, early childhood, and parent-child interaction. And how do we're missing a piece with the virtual.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Anyone else in that group? There must be like a 15-second to countdown on awkward pauses. I was in a Zoom meeting the other day and somebody posed a question and there were like 16 of us and there was just like silence, and then someone said, "I can outwalk awkward all of you." So
I do have one thing, Susan. I do have one thing I thought of. It's actually
please, Susan.
It was actually Sarah's idea, and I don't think is here any longer, but she used the word reverse home visit, right, Shelley? That was the right thing she said.
Yes.
That really piqued my interest. I don't even know that it would even work out, but that idea of having one family at a time come to school to play at school so teachers can have eyes on children. But how would that be? Once a session? Would it be, that's something we'd really have to think about. But I just thought, that might be something to explore. Reverse home visit.
Greta?
Yeah, so this is something that kind of gets me excited. The idea of maybe going towards a membership, and then if you pay the semester, and then you can plug in. So you could have something like that offered for reverse home visits that would count in your membership. You could come do that, or you could you can have a 4-session class or a 6-session class. You could do it on Mondays. Everything on Monday I'm going to hit, or I'm going to do it topically. I think there's flexibility that has potential, because then we can also advertise and get new people when those new things are starting and something else is happening. I don't know. I like your idea of the reverse home visiting, and Michelle, what you were talking about, trying to figure out hybrids. The more flexible, I don't know how logistically possible. I haven't my coordinator hasn't said that I should consider these things, but I'm a processor and I need to be saying it out loud. Sorry. Okay.
Great ideas. So my final question to you, at the beginning, I asked you what this session, could do for you for forward future planning. And the one word that I saw repeated over and over was inspiration. I want to be inspired. I want to be inspired with ideas. And so the last question I have for you is, what inspired you today? As you think, I mean, we'll connect again. And for so Wednesday, we're meeting Wednesday and Friday, and so they're just a separate meeting time. So we'll continue. I'll do the same structure thing, and we'll break into groups, and we'll call it fall planning. So if you'd like to rejoin us, then, as you can probably tell, there is no lack of conversation about this issue, right? There is so much. And so if you are able to rejoin us on Friday or Thursday, I seriously doubt that you're going to hear a lot of repetition. So, but don't worry if you can't, because, we can reconnect next Friday. Anyway, so, but what have you heard that inspires you as you think about today? An idea, a person, and being in your group, something that you did. What inspired you? You wanted to be inspired today. You told me that at the beginning. So I'm really curious. Greta said, others feeling the same way. Great. We're all in the same boat. Good. What else? Chat, speak it out. Christy, less isolation.
Knowing the other small communities out there, and like the same boat idea again. We're in the same boat and we're in it together, and we can use each other even if it feels like we're here alone.
Okay. Great. Together. Wow. Kind of sounds like ECFE. For the research I've done with parents, and like when I ask them, give me a word that describes ECFE, the big word that's like in the middle is community, and then support, and then you see sort of education, family, and that kind of thing around it. So I think sometimes what's missing in ECFE is the community and the support for the professionals. So good. I'm glad this is a forum that is inspiring for you. Anything, could we break into home visit? Sure, Greta, we can do anything. Like, see, that's one of the really nice things about doing this too, is Susan has no agenda, right? I'm not teaching you anything. You're not getting credits for anything. This isn't professional development stuff. I'm not a supervisor. I'm not in your school districts. Like, I am just one little woman at my computer that is hosting a Zoom session. So the sky's the limit. Whatever you guys want, we can make it happen. Okay. So, all right. So we have our recording. We've got our chat. Thank you so much, Anjali, for recording in the chat area. I have your emails from before. I'm going to put those into the spreadsheet and then send that back out to you so you have each other's contacts. I'll be uploading this into the playlist area, and hopefully if all goes well, we'll have our group discussions in the playlist area. And then along the way, please reach out to me individually if there's absolutely anything that you want this group to do, or you would like added, or a resource we can bring to the whole group, or, you know, a direction this group can take. Okay? Because this is yours. And I'm just happy to bring you together. So
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome.
Ditto.
So have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
You betcha.